player one or player two?
Player two.
Player two is LaMelo Ball. Player one Player one is Anthony Edwards, pro. Welcome to Rogue Bogues, another episode of the basketball series. A lot has transpired the last 2 weeks. Obviously, a lot of NBA action. It kind of seems like the NBA standings are somewhat upside down. A lot of news off the court in the world of not just basketball, but Australian basketball, which we'll get to a little bit later. Pro, what's news?
Not much, Bogues. I was actually at a high school event they do here in Dallas, a big-time event with like some of the best teams in the country that come. And, it's funny. There was a team from Missouri, Link Academy. They got one of the top two guards in the country named Trey Johnson. And then some gangly kid gets to the free throw line, and he goes for shooting two shots, Andre Iguodala. So Iguodala's kid was there, and I saw Andre there. So got a chance to talk to Dre. I haven't spoken to him in years, so it was good to catch up. I didn't even know he had a son that old, that age. So we were just talking about his son and stuff like that. So
he's super long and skinny kid. Yeah, I kind of saw him grow up before my very eyes. Spending 6-7 years in Golden State.
Yeah, it's funny. Dre's wife came through, and I haven't seen her in a long time. I sort of recognized her. Who is that? And then when they said Iguodala, I'm like, oh, got it. So yeah, there you go. But anyway, it was cool to see him, but everything else is good, Bogues. Just, regular tomfuckery, I guess.
That's right. Let's get into our team of the weeks. I'll go first. I'm going to go with the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're really playing well. They had a tough loss the other night, but they're 11-4 on top of the West. I mean, I didn't even have them in my 10. I think I had them. I just didn't have a lot of confidence in the Rudy Towns matchup, and they've proven me completely wrong. They're the one outlier that's kind of messed up my initial picks from the preseason, but they're playing really well. They've figured out the Towns Gobert balance. Naz Reid comes off the bench, does a great job for him in that big spot as well. He's got a good balance of those three bigs. Edwards obviously has taken another step this year. Conley, great role player for him. They've got a lot of good pieces, and they just seem to be clicking well. They seem to have enough to put pressure at the defensive end with the bigs that they have. They've kind of hid Towns. He's kind of not that quick on the perimeter, but they've managed to hide him in spots where he doesn't have to be as effective defensively. And they just have a good bunch of youth and veterans, I think, Pro. And it's good to see. It's just good to see the NBA right now. You look at some teams that were meant to be at the top, like the Clippers and Golden State, and they're all down towards the bottom. The Rockets have been impressive in the West, and then you look at the East, and there's a few, outliers there with the Indiana Pacers and the way they're playing, and the Orlando Magic, which I'm sure is probably going to be your pick. But who do you have? I've got the Orlando Magic. They've been playing really well. They knocked off Boston a couple of days ago. They've just been playing really well. Like, those guys are energetic. They're a top young team. I really enjoy watching them. Jamal Mosley does a great job with those guys, and they're just an entertaining team. They got they don't really have, in my opinion, like an elite player, but like Bonchero, Wagner, those guys are playing well, and then you got like Suggs, Fultz, Cole Anthony. They're really playing well, and they got spunk. They got energy. They the ball moves. They just got a good team, and they play hard. They play with each other. So I really enjoy watching those guys. And then just to speak a point on the Minnesota deal on your pick, like, it's funny. Everyone's saying go smaller, go smaller, go smaller. A lot of the teams defensively that are really good, like them and Cleveland. The bigger teams sometimes defensively, for one reason or another, they rate pretty high when you go bigger versus just going really all small or mostly small. So I didn't like the whole Towns and Gobert thing, but it seems to be working. But the Orlando deal, yeah, I think they're playing well. I think they're a really good team. I had them originally, in the top 6 or 7 in the East. So I think they're playing well. Yeah, and notably last season they were a team. I think in the last 50 games they went 500.
after a horror start. And then there was a bunch of those games last season that were within those where they went 500 were losing by 2 or 3 points to good teams. So they're always going to have, I think, a good season this year. Just a matter of how high. I definitely didn't have them at 3 and winning 6 straight and playing as well as they are, 11-5 at the moment. It looks like they're going to probably solidify a spot in the top 6 if they continue to go this way. But it's good to see. They've been in the doldrums for what? It's been since Dwight, really, right? Since Dwight left, they've been the bottom of the East. So it's good to see them have some momentum. And like you said, the good thing about it is that they're just not a team that has a star that's, a first-tier superstar. Banchero's obviously growing into a star player and getting better and better every night, but they don't have a guy that's an Edwards or a LeBron, a KD, one of those guys, and they continue to put wins on the board. So it's always nice to see those teams kind of accomplish that. Week, who's had a horrid 2 weeks for you, Pro?
There's a lot of teams that could select. The bottom of the barrel is bottom of the barrel, as far as teams. You could pick anyone. I'm just going to go at Washington. I guess they're the easy target, right? I don't know. They're just seems lifeless at times. At this point, they lost 9 in a row. You got that character pool running around. They're just not. I mean, look, they don't have. It's not like they've got no talent at all and they're terrible. They've got a couple players that can put points up, but they're just all over the place as far as how their team's constructed and what they have going. And they just don't really have a lot of life right now. They don't really have anybody they could really hang their team on. They got Poole and Kuzma, which are, they're going to put numbers up, but the stuff that Poole pulls as far as like shot selection and body language and antics and things. And, Kuzma, whatever fucking outfit he's going to show up to the game at, that's probably the most entertaining thing of the night. Once the ball goes up, everything else is out the window. But they don't really have a lot of talent. They don't have young talent. They're just sort of out there. And it's just, they're not a fun team to watch. Even some of those teams that, like San Antonio, whatever, that lose a bunch of games, at least you got Victor there, and you've got guys who play hard, and you got some good pieces. But I don't really see any good pieces here, really, besides maybe Kuzma and like Daniel Gafford. But besides that, they've just sort of a lifeless team.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of them at all. I picked them dead last for this very reason. They're not going to grind out wins. They got a couple of guys who will hit their numbers. I'm not sold on Poole as a 1 or even 2 tier star in the NBA. I don't like his leadership ability. Look, when you're a number 1 or number 2 guy on any given team, you have to have a certain amount of leadership, whether you like it or not, because you're looked at as that's just the way it is. It's probably not always right, but if you're a max guy, you got to have some sort of leadership qualities, or at least be willing to work towards some leadership qualities. He has zero. He has zero leadership qualities. You can see it. You're referring to the timeout a couple of games ago where he's losing his shit in the timeout, not paying attention to coach, leaves the timeout, then comes back to it saying, "Oh shit, what play are we running?" You just stuff like that as a max star player, you can't do. And then you're a veteran. So you're looked at as a veteran for these younger guys, even though you're not a veteran. These younger guys look up to you and say, "Oh, that's normal. So now when I get my max deal or I get my money, I can act that way and succeed in the NBA." So it sets a bad precedence for things, and I don't see any way out there. Their roster is an absolute cluster fuck of a roster. Like you just said, there's no continuity with it. I don't see a method to the madness of their roster. I don't know what they're doing. Where are they going? Like what style are you trying to play? It's just almost like they're like, "Oh, let's just get a few names, throw them together, and we're rebuilding, but we'll see how we go." So if you're a Wizards fan, look, you look at OKC of 2 or 3 years ago, you can see a method to that madness. You knew that in 2 or 3, 4 years, it's going to come together. They're going to have a lot of young stars playing together, getting games together. This, I think in probably 3 years, you'll probably see 80% of this roster will be elsewhere, in my opinion.
Well, Bogues, right. So Sam Presti, in my opinion, is the number 1 GM in the league. Smartest guy by far. Him, Riley, whatever. But what they've done, and their front office is all Oklahoma City guys. So they've sort of built under that model. How Oklahoma City did it was, look, at first, besides the KD thing, once they sort of got past KD and Westbrook and those guys, they got Paul George, they got Paul George and basically dealt them off. They got Chris Paul. They dealt those guys off for $1 million picks because they had value. They tried to win with George and those guys. They couldn't do it. And then they just said, you know what? Let's just deal it. And they got all those picks and pick swaps and things. They had value, and then they just started drafting. And the Clippers, they were handcuffed because they needed to get Paul George, or they weren't going to get Kawhi Leonard. So they get Shea Alexander in the trade, which is arguably better than Paul George right now. So like they got that. They got Shea they could build their team around. They got all these picks, and then they just sort of started building it. With this roster right now, like, you think that, okay, you either going to lose all these games and you're going to get these top picks, but also you're going to acquire talent that you could build their value up, trade out the door, get all these picks and pick swaps for those guys, and then just start building your roster. The problem is your top two players is Poole and Kuzma, and you're not going to get much for those guys. Right now, if you had to judge it, and they're talking about already trading Poole in the media, I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, the problem is no one's going to want anything. You're going to have to trade out multiple first-round picks to get Poole off, for someone to take his contract. He's got over $150 million, I believe, left on his deal. So no one's going to want that contract unless you're going to attach it to a multiple, like, unprotected picks, in my opinion. And then Kuzma might be able to get you a little bit of something. But right now, besides really high picks because they're going to be bad, they didn't get a ton of trade value for Beal. When they traded Beal out the window, they didn't really get a lot in return. And don't forget, they traded not this staff, but they traded Hachimura for basically nothing, last year. Remember, when they traded to the Lakers. So there's not a lot of value on this roster and things that you could really build around. So you're just going to have to be bad. You're going to have to either attach picks to the Poole contract, or you're just going to let it go and just, wait till his contract's up in a few years. And then it's really hard for this organization to develop value in their roster going forward. So it'll be a tough build, in my opinion.
I agree. Yeah, there's no shining light. They don't have the Paul George. They don't have anything that can bring in assets. So there, like I said, I think if you're a Wizards fan, buckle up. You're in a 10-year plan by the looks of things. I had the Detroit Pistons. Look, they weren't expected to be that good this year, but whenever you lose 13 straight, not good. Not good when you lose 13 straight. They were 2-1 before that, I believe, bro. So they were looking good.
Yeah.
They were 2-1.
Yeah.
And then it's gone. It's gone. And they're they've got a pretty good young roster. Their roster's not like they got a much better roster than the Wizards, in my opinion. You look at Cunningham growing into his own. Who else do they have here? Killian Hayes.
Bogdanovich.
Bogdanovich. Thompson's actually a decent rookie for them. He's having a great rookie year so far, I believe. I think he's leading the league in blocks for rookies at 6'6", a guard forward spot. Isaiah Stewart's solid for him. Joe Harris is there. Bagley the third not playing much. Wiseman not playing at all. But I always question the acquisition of Monty Williams for a roster like this. I don't understand that. That's one thing I don't understand. He's not. I mean, is he a guy that has the patience to build a young team? Don't know. Doesn't look good right. Doesn't look right now.
He's got the patience to look at his Bank of America app twice a month and see what the fuck's getting deposited in that thing. He's making like $14, $15 million
over
a
5,
year,
right, or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So trust me, I don't think that's going to be much of a problem. The guy literally is worth more than the state of Michigan. So I don't think. I don't think that.
More from the Pistons' point of view, though. I'm talking more about from their, like, what's your, are they thinking we've got a young, undisciplined crew? Let's bring in this hard-headed coach. Whereas I'm like, yes, but I think they'd flourish more with one of these younger, kind of energetic guys, in my opinion, while you're rebuilding. Because I think there's a burnout that's going to happen with a young group around a hard-headed coach. I think you've got to. You got a 2 to 3 year. If you don't have those veterans in that locker room that are like, hey, young fella, this is the coach you want to do, blah, 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 blah. I don't think that's the right coach for them long term. But like you said, they've paid him like it is. So I just think that's kind of a clunky fit. But yeah, they're my week of the few weeks, just because whenever you lose 13 straight games, we're probably a week away from Googling what their franchise record of losses is. If they're at 13 right now, I assume it's close to 20. You never want to be in those positions because it's just you don't want to set those kind of records.
I mean, believe it or not, like, daily I'll go on my Peloton, and Peloton has where you can watch watch your NBA package. So in the morning, I'll take a game from a team that I don't watch a lot. So I watched Detroit a couple of times. It's rough. Like, they don't really have shooting. They don't really have. I mean, the one thing they do have is they have size. With Stewart and Duran, and Bagley's actually playing pretty well. Thompson's sort of a Trevor Ariza type, like really athletic slasher. Can't really shoot it, but he does play hard. But the one thing for them is Bogdanovich is out. Jaden Ivey's really been struggling. Now he's been okay in the last few games, but he's been really struggling. Takes a lot of tough shots. Not really a shooter. Undersized too. So they don't really. I mean, to me, Cunningham's the guy that they build around. I'm not a huge Cunningham fan. He's a good player, but it's good. It's just a tough deal. You got Bogdanovich you're paying all that money to. He hasn't played yet. The bigs they got are good. They're tough guys. Isaiah Stewart and Duran are tough. They rebound. They get size and strength, but they don't really have anything they could hang their hat on besides Cunningham. I would think that with Monty Williams is like when you're a GM and you really have a coach that it reminded me a lot of what Danny Ainge wanted to do. Like when Danny Ainge came, he had a guy named Jim O'Brien coaching his team. Jim O'Brien left or got fired in the middle of the year. And like Danny always wanted Doc Rivers as his coach. So we were going to be bad. I was on the staff there. We were going to be bad for the next few years. We were young. And Doc was a guy that, people thought was going to be a championship level coach. So he had a couple other offers. Danny secured them. They were really bad for like 3 years before they made those trades and things. So for them, they're probably like, regardless, if you have a coach that you feel as though you could acquire and get, and you think that he's a championship level coach, great. Now the problem is you got to build a championship level roster. And, right now they just don't have it. They got a couple of pieces that are worth something, but it's going to take some time. And they play hard and all, they just don't have the talent. And that's a big problem for them. So yeah, they've been pretty bad, watching them in the last couple of weeks. They played Denver pretty hard the last few days, but obviously Denver didn't have Murray, but,
well, guess what, Pro? Not, I just Googled their all-time franchise record for losses is 14. They're at 13. Mm-hmm. They've lost 14 in 21-22 and 93-94. And guess who they play next, Pro?
Who you got, Bogues? I didn't see.
The Washington Wizards. So they got a chance.
Oh.
The Battle of the Toilet Bowl is on the 28th. Yeah. So Australian time, at time this will already be live. They will be playing Washington for the Toilet Bowl to see who can really solidify last spot in the East and get off their losing streak. So that is very, very interesting. But I thought they would have had more than that. 14 game losing streak all times, their worst. That's not too bad. There's some teams that are pushing 20s, I think.
Well, don't forget, championship team, and they were really bad before they got Isaiah Thomas. They got Isaiah Thomas within 3 or 4 years. They're conference finalists, won 2 championships. Then they went bad, but they didn't go terrible. They just went a little bit bad. Then they build the roster back up. Then they win a championship again with Larry Brown coaching the team. Carlisle was pretty good before Larry Brown too. Mm-hmm. So they've actually had a good.
The Grant Hill era wasn't too bad.
Grant Hill, yeah. They've had some good. They never really floored the franchise until recently, but I mean they've kept it together more or less for the last decade or so before this little last couple year deal. But yeah, man, that's not going to be a greatly attended game in my opinion, or maybe it is. Who knows?
Maybe they'll paint the quarter color brown, color brown. All right, let's get into some news, and the biggest trending news of the last week is involving Josh Giddey and the social media CSI that has gone down. For those not familiar, he has been accused of dating or sleeping with, or whatever you want to call it, hooking up with a 15-year-old girl. Now, there's a lot that still needs to be done with this. It's very hard to comment until you have a result on the investigation. From what I understand, the people I've spoken to is, now look, just want to put it out there, if Josh was 19, 20, 21 and knowingly seeking out a 15-year-old girl. Absolutely despicable behavior. I'm strongly against it. Full, threat of the law, whatever it is, do your time. I don't think this is that, from what I understand. If I'm wrong, I'll come back and apologize. I don't think it is that. I think the girl was younger. From what I understand is the girl in question has lied about her age and said that she was of age at the time. This has also happened, I think, over a year ago now. I don't think this is something that's happened recently, much to people thinking on social media it has. And it's just hard to give proper comment on this until this plays out. Now, OKC have been aware of this from what I'm told for the last year. They've known about it. They have deemed Josh free to play. They don't see any concerns. The NBA have allowed that, which is kind of telling, because when these kind of things happen, the NBA kind of tries to really, hey, take a couple of games off till we figure this thing out. But on the flip side, I don't think they can do anything, even if there was, some smoke to this fire, until there's formal charges. I think as per the CBA, I don't think, pending an internet Twitter investigation, they can step down a player from playing. He'd have to agree to it. So they can't just say you step down. So he has not been formally charged. I don't believe he's even been interviewed by police to this point. I think it occurred in California, where the age of consent is 18, which does throw a spanner in the works as to, did Josh know she was overage? I'm told that's what he was told. Did he know she was underage? Sorry, but I was told he was thinking that she was overage. But just a messy situation for everyone involved. I think for this to go down the legal route, I believe that the girl in question or the family have to formally press charges saying that he knowingly knew she was of this age. From what I understand, that will not happen because the girl lied about her age. So you see a lot of this stuff going on the internet. When I first saw it, I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And then, you got all these CSI people on the internet digging up wrong photos of different girls and captions and this and that. It's just an absolute shit show as it is online on social media. So as I said, if this is a 19, 20-year-old knowingly saying, I know you're 15, let's hook up, no sympathy from me whatsoever. I don't think that is the case with this. And I think it's going to play out pretty smoothly from the Josh Giddey party. But the damage has been done to his PR pro, regardless of what the result is. And that's a trial by, we have trial by media over the last 30 years. I think there's now trial by social media. It's probably 100 times worse. I don't know how you see it and what your thoughts are.
I'm not going to have any comment on what I think of it, because obviously, with this thing, you just wait until all the facts are in. I don't like to just sort of jump to a conclusion with this stuff, especially when major media doesn't pick it up and there's not a lot of info. Here's my only thing, Bogues, and talking to a couple of people that were telling me about, okay, this is sort of the law part of it. Okay, so she was in a club, and I want your feedback after I come up with this. She's in a club. She gets in illegally, fake ID, whatever. And maybe she knew somebody up front that let her in. She's in a club. He, whatever. It doesn't even have to be Giddey. It could be anybody. And they hook up. So now you're telling me that, okay, you're off scot-free because she lies about her age, or you assume that she's of age because she's in a club that, I don't know, say the age was 21. My cynical part of my brain says, okay, this comes to light. There's no charges, whatever, because of this. What's stopping an NBA player that's into this sort of thing, having one of his boys get a couple of degrees of separation, brings in these girls, pays off the front person that's taking the IDs, whatever, gets them in the club, and then this happens. And then is that the defense? Like, I can do this because I think she's of age. That's the only scary part, not even a basketball part, just sort of in life, that like there's always workarounds to everything. So that's my only issue with this whole thing. Like, obviously we don't have the facts to it, but what about that scenario, Bogues? Like,
Yeah, no, 100%.
And
I read about that. I read the exact thing that people said, well, what's to stop someone doing what you just said? And I think it's just a messy situation. I think Josh hopefully learns a hard life lesson from this, regardless of where it goes. Obviously, if it's what I said, if he knowingly did it, and which I've been told is completely not the case. But even if Josh said, okay, I'll take you for face value, you're 19, but he's still thinking, is she really? That's enough for me to say, I'm not doing this. And that's where he's got to learn his lessons. Talking about the comments we made last week about the NBA groupies and all that kind of stuff, it factors into this as well. These are kind of things that now you got to be really careful. Do you ask for ID? Do you do this? Do you do that? Who knows? But I remember, when I don't know what it's like in the US in high school, but I remember when I was in high school and we'd have, year 9s and 10s, girls that were in my class would be getting picked up by guys after school that had their licenses. And in Australia, you need to be 18 to have your license, right? So they were 1 year removed from that high school. They might have been in year 12 last season. They graduated. And now they're picking up year 9s and 10s. And, and I was kind of always like, no, like that's just weird and wrong, right? But it was kind of the thing, at least here in Australia, and you always looked at it like those kids thought they were cool. But like I said, whenever you're on that line, you're flirting with danger, and that's why I think Josh has messed up. Like if you're messing around that 18, 19, 17, maybe you don't know, just no. Like for me, that's me. He's got so much to lose, as we've seen. Now, like, this is the thing, regardless of what comes out in the next week or two, and even if it gets to a point where it's like, she did lie, he didn't know, he thought she was 19, that doesn't matter now. All these memes and all this shit now, like that's going to be there forever, right? It's hard to take back on social media. Like I said, if it is the alternative where he knowingly knew, 15, then I'm right there with those people and saying like, yeah, that's terrible behavior, but it's hard to take back. Like you said, no real credible outlets have reported on this for that very reason. It's just gone, there's some allegations now. That's kind of the most it's been in the media. But yeah, I just don't know where it goes to solve this puzzle, because from what I understand, the family of the girl and the girl herself have, knowingly said they're not moving forward with any charges. And I think they're the ones that hold the key to it. If they come out and tomorrow decide, we think he did know she was 15, then he's in some trouble, right? But it's just a messy situation.
Sure. Yeah, Bogues, I'm not sure. And again, I'm no legal expert, obviously, but if the state wants to go forward with it,
I don't think so.
I wonder if they could still go forward with it if they want to, even if they don't want to press charges.
I don't think so. That's the question I had too. I know, because in California it's 18, Oklahoma it's 16, but this happened in California. Yeah. That was my question, was like, can the state independently, outside of the girl in question or her family, can the state prosecute? I don't think so. I think they would have to give a witness statement. So if the girl and the parents don't want to participate and give a statement, I don't think you have a case, bro. So I think that's, I'm not a legal expert, but it kind of leaves a lot open, up in the air and open. But it's just a shitty situation for everyone involved, even for the girl. She's getting slut shamed and all that kind of stuff. So it's a valuable lesson of social media and not posting stuff on social media. I've got a thing with Snapchat. I think if you're an adult above 18, if you're above 18, you should not be on Snapchat. That's my opinion. And I know there's a lot of people that are on there. They use it in high school and they graduate and they continue to use it. That's kind of what they're used to. But an app that allows you to upload videos and messages that disappear is only really an app for a few things, bro. And I just think that, it's a valuable lesson for Josh. He's got to tighten his circle, calm down on the extracurricular activities that he does outside of basketball and focus on that, because he's only in this thing for 10 or 15 years. And he's, from what I understand, and he's never been a guy that's gotten in trouble or knowingly wanted to go out and be silly. This is a valuable lesson for him. So we'll see. We'll watch that space. But I'm with you, bro. It's kind of hard to comment, because you're going to have people on one side saying, oh, you're condoning it. No, like I said, if found out he knowingly knew she was 15, then I'm right there with you. But from all the people I've spoken to, that are pretty close to those circles, they've said absolutely not the case. Then you got people on the other side that say, well, what's a big deal if they're within a year or two of age? So it's just a messy situation. And I mean, in the middle of a basketball season, to have to deal with this, his star's growing, OKC's playing well. It's just sucks to go through that. I think for everyone involved, it's just shit.
Sure. I mean, they'll go through the investigation, and whatever happens, and we got no control over it, and then we could speak on it when they sort of come out. I just don't like to jump to this because I've done that in the past. And what I've learned in the last few years is like a couple of things. I've learned that you can't trust anybody. You can't trust like media. You can't trust reports. You can't trust people, what they just say. You got to wait till all the facts come in. And that's the best way to do it. And, I just think that, I think that's the best way to do it rather than jump into a conclusion on something like this. Cause, it's out of our realm. That's not what we do. And, we just got to wait until everything comes back and see what happens.
And then we'll comment on it once it's out. All right. Next one. Did you happen to see, we're going to play a grab for you, Mike, Pro. Did you happen to see this?
Leonard coming in average at 21. Had that Monday. 80% from the line in the season. And Kawhi with 8 points tonight, 3 of 5 from the floor. It is only 3.
Excuse me for a second.
Pops on the mic.
Stop all the booing, let these guys play. It's got no class. It's not who we are. Knock off the booing.
Pop telling the fans to lay off Kawhi Leonard.
Pro, what are your thoughts?
Come on, man. I mean, what are we doing? First of all, guys want to boo, they boo. They're not threatening his life. They're not saying anything racially inclined. They're not doing any of this stuff. They're booing. The guy forced his way out of town, traded out. They want to give him a little bit of a hard time. They're paid to do that. Although the guy's been screaming about white privilege for about 7 or 8 years, that's a pretty good example of it right there, I would assume. But come on. That's the last time I saw that happen, Bogues. It was like 1989. It was Syracuse versus Georgetown at Syracuse, and they were throwing things on the Georgetown. Syracuse was a huge rivalry in the 80s, and then like Jim Boeheim, the coach of Syracuse at the time, basically said the same thing. But
stop throwing shit. Stop throwing shit is a little bit different. We've seen that in sports here. Like if you're throwing stuff, there's always a home team star player or coach that comes on and says, "Hey, like stop throwing shit. Like someone's gonna get hurt."
Yeah.
For booing,
what do you think about Bogues?
Oh, it's cringeworthy. It is so cringeworthy. And look, Pop's a winning coach, and he's won all these championships, and now he's a holier than thou kind of social commentator and all that kind of stuff. But I know people that have played there. This is what kills me about this, right? When I was in Milwaukee and Golden State, I played with many, many, many players that had stopovers, whether it be for a year or even 4 or 5 years in San Antonio. And there weren't very glowing reports on the way Popovich handled himself behind the scenes with player relations and people relations in general, not just players, but staff and outer skeleton staff within the club. There were days he was grumpy, he'd walk in, wouldn't say hello to anybody. There were days I heard he treats rookies like absolute shit for the most part, like doesn't give them a lot of time or attention. I've heard he walks past people in hallways without saying hello. So to have this holier than thou attitude kind of shits me when it's PR and easy pickings. Like to go and get a microphone mid-game and be like, stop doing. Well, get this, bro. Do you remember how he got ran out of town? Partly himself, right? But there was also the narrative that he faked an injury to get traded. He was faking the injury to get himself out of there, right? Where was Pop on his soapbox then? Because the excuse that he's given of, I love Kawhi and he's a championship player for us and I'll protect him at all costs. Where was your voice then? It was deafening, the silence, right? You could come out and said, look, he has a legitimate injury. Our training staff potentially didn't diagnose him right, so he's a bit frustrated. He wants out of town. That would be protecting him, right? So I don't buy all this holier than thou stuff. He's definitely got a God complex with some of this stuff. And to grab a mic mid-game, it's just so cringeworthy. And everyone gets booed. It's part of the game. that those home fans are paying their price of admission and trying to put you off, trying to make you miss free throws. Like, where do you draw the line then? Okay, you can boo that player, but not that player. Oh, free throws will allow booing because we wanted to miss. Oh, it's just, I think Pop needs to put a cork in it and just concentrate on how bad his team is playing right now. It's been a nice little diversion from how bad they really are. Now you don't have your Tony Parkers and your Manu Ginobili's and your Tim Duncans anymore. You actually have to coach now, pro. So you're not looking good. Where are they right now? They're sitting towards the bottom. They are last. They've lost 11 straight. No one's talking about that 11 straight as much as they're talking about him. Whatever side you're on, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, stunning and brave, great. Look at him defending his player that don't know shit about basketball, that don't know he didn't defend that player 2 or 3 years ago. And then you got the people like us who are just shitting on him, which I think is deservedly so.
Yeah, it's just not a great look, to be honest with you. But like, the casual fan, especially a San Antonio fan, would be like, oh, he's doing the right thing, blah blah blah. What
they kept
what a
booing
great
though,
thing
bro.
he
That's
did.
what was hilarious. After he said it, there was fans still
They
booing.
don't give a fuck. They don't care.
Hey guys, stop booing. Boo! Sit down, coach.
Yeah, Fans are gonna do what fans do. They're gonna, they just want attention. They want to be part of the experience. I didn't think it was a big deal in the sense that like they're booing him. So what? I've heard way worse. There's way worse things done. Way like more threatening things that like courtside fans yell at players and stuff. I didn't think it was a huge deal, but yeah, it sort of comes off as like a God complex deal, just bragging the mic, grabbing the mic and trying to micromanage the whole situation. So I don't know, man.
All I hope is pro every game now from here on out. I hope home coach gets on the microphone and says, "Don't boo that guy shooting that star player shooting free throws doesn't deserve this." Every game, let's just stop every game at different points. First quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, no booing. And then the game can take another, instead of being 2.5 hours, it can be 4.5 hours, and we can have great PR puff pieces all year long.
Yeah, they might want to be booing that offense they're running. So, instead of booing players, that's just me.
Last one, Steve Kerr. I'm in agreement with his little rant post the Phoenix Suns game, playing at Phoenix. He said that he couldn't hear shit in there, couldn't call any plays, and it was like a nightclub feel. This is a huge pet peeve of mine, pro, NBL-wise, because there's a few teams that literally, I'm not exaggerating, they press play on like Wild Hits 2010, and they press play on the album, and then it's like the DJ just leaves, goes get some food, maybe gets a massage, comes back after the game, and then we don't have CDs anymore, but takes his little USB drive out of the DJ booth and goes home because it just plays all game long during free throws. And I guess Phoenix is starting to go down that route, and Kerr wasn't happy about it. But I just thought I'd put someone in there that actually agrees with me for once. And Kerr and I don't agree on a lot of things off the court, so it's good for us to actually agree on something when it comes to club music. Look, I like music that's leading into a play, defense chants, a bit of music to pump up the crowd for 5 seconds during the start of an offensive play, whatever it is, don't mind it. I just can't stand like literally playing a 3-minute track while the game's going. It's almost like the basketball's secondary to everything else going on. So just something I thought I'd bring up. I don't know. What's your thoughts on making the arena feel like a nightclub? Are you there to watch the game, or do you want to dance with your wife while you're there?
Back in the day, the game was really good and the marketing was terrible. Now, not that the basketball is bad, but the marketing, it seems like, takes precedence over the actual gameplay. And they're trying to cater to everybody. They're trying to make it an experience, and they're not really. That's what they're worried about mostly. Marketing, trying to sell their TV packages, their midseason tournament, the game experience. You charge in, triple figures on average probably for tickets. It's really hard. They're going to have to try to make it as entertaining as possible. I don't think it's right. I think, that blaring music is, I agree with that. I'm not a huge fan of it, especially all game long. Like, it just keeps on going and going and going. I don't know. I mean, I think you and I were talking before, and you were saying like you don't mind it when it's like leading into a chant and it's cool. I like that, but not really a huge
especially
fan.
the Knicks with the accordion or whatever it is. Like,
Organ?
I think it's really cool. I like that. I like a bit of music. I'm not one of those people like, just complete silence and squeaky shoes and bouncy balls. But I think it's a time and place, but just constantly all game long. I'd like to hear kind of what the fans think. Listening to this, if you're driving and you pause you drive or stop at the end of your drive, just hit us up on socials. If you're watching the actual video version, let us know what you think. Do you like going to NBA, NBL, whether you live in Europe? Do you like having music every single second, or do you like actually being able to hear kind of the nuances of the basketball game, which shockingly you paid to go to the basketball game? I'd love to hear what people think there. Aussies in the NBA, let's get onto some stats this week, pro. Dante Exum, decent week for him actually off the bench, 5.7 points, 2.9 rebounds, 1.9 assists. So he had a really solid couple of weeks in the league. Dyson Daniels continues to play really well in that starting position. 28 minutes a game, 9.2 points, 5.8 rebounds, 4.7 assists, and 2 steals a game in that realm. So very close to getting another Aussie of the week, but just missed out. I think I have him in second place. Josh Green, 6.2 points, 2.7 rebounds, 3.2 assists, and just under a steal a game. He's been up and down in that lineup with the Mavs. He kind of has some games where he'll play 30, 35, and then there are some games where he'll get a quick drag. I think in his last game against the Clippers, he didn't play very much and got a short leash. So watch that space. Joe Ingles finding a bit of form finally. His field goal percentage and 3-point percentage over the last month before this last 2 weeks was horrendous. He seems to have got it back. 6.4 points, 2.5 rebounds, 3.7 assists, 1 steal per game, 10 for 20 from 3 in the last 2 weeks, which is great for him. Jock Landale has fallen out of the rotation almost completely, pro. He's at 4.7 minutes over the last 2 weeks, 1 point, 1.5 rebounds, just not playing a whole lot. They end up going Jeff Green over him at times. I think a bit more trust there with the veteran from Ime Udoka. So Jock's got to just continue to keep doing what he's doing. I know he's frustrated at the moment, like anyone would be from not playing, but he'll eventually be given his opportunity, whether it's in 1 game or 10 games, just needs to be ready. Patty Mills, 0 minutes, nothing to report there. Matisse Thybulle, 6.6 points, 2.2 rebounds, 1.2 assists, 1 steal per game, 7 for 17 from 3 in that span. Ben Simmons still not back from injury since November 5, so almost a month out. So watch that space. Duop Reith, new Aussie in the league as the last couple of weeks. Portland Trailblazers have picked him up. Playing pretty well, 7.6 points, 2.2 rebounds, 1 assist per game. Shooting the 3 ball consistently. He's getting them up at least. He's not shy from there, which he did well with the national team, but he will hopefully solidify himself as a decent backup big. Aiton's been in and out of the lineup, so he's got some minutes there. But speaking of NBA news and the happenings, Josh Giddey is going to get our Aussie Player of the Week. He probably had the best stat line over the last couple of weeks. He's coming back into form. He's at 12 points, just under 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 for 12 from 3 in that span. So just judging on numbers, Dyson Daniels was probably right under him, but Giddey's numbers and the fact that OKC are playing so well in second spot in the West solidify him for his first Aussie of the Week. We thought he was going to run the table, pro. We have Ben, Dyson Daniels, and now Josh Giddey with an Aussie of the Week.
Yeah, we got so many Australian guys to talk about, but yeah, the Green thing in Dallas, Dallas is, look, they've been playing well, don't get me wrong, but as of late, they need more offense, and, Green gives you good energy, gives you good defense, athletic kid, but, they just need some scoring. They go with Hardaway, with deep minutes and things. As far as the Dyson Daniels thing, it's really exciting to watch the kid play. He plays hard, plays the right way, knows how to play, and it's good because they obviously need it with CJ out, and, obviously they got Trey Murphy out, so they need help in the, in the perimeter play. So it's been good to watch his development and his minutes increase. So, and he lives up to that challenge. So it's cool to watch him play.
Yeah, it is. And the Aussies are all roaring into hopefully a successful Olympics in Paris. So it's good to see most playing. The one concern is Patty Mills obviously not playing. We've touched on that. What happens there for the Olympic team, it's not great, bro, when you're not playing for a whole season, whether he gets hopefully bought out trade deadline, maybe gets bought out and lashes on somewhere and can find some minutes. But you don't want one of your mainstays for your national team playing 0 minutes over the course of 12 months. And last season didn't play a whole lot neither. Carried that form into the World Cup. Probably not his best tournament when you compare to the bronze medal run and even the runs before that. So he's going to hopefully have to find a bit of burn here in the next couple of months for the sake of the national team, because you don't want to float into that having no form. All right, moving on. We'll get into some stats real quick. But first, Dabble social betting experience where you can copy bets. It's simple. See a bet on your feed you like, boom, hit that copy bet button. Follow, copy my bets, and jump into the band channel. Download the app and have a dabble. Dabble socially and gamble responsibly. And I hit a 10-way multi last week, pro. So I finally got one going. I think the odds were 80 to 1 or something like that. So a lot of happy people.
So Bogues, what does that mean? Like, how many teams did you have to pick and things?
10 different games. I'll give you.
You picked 10 different games on one night.
Yes, all in a multi. I'll give you the exact rundown of it right now.
Sure.
While I've got it here, there's a lot of happy punters, pro. Here we go. 10-leg multi, pro. It was paying $83.41. I had the mighty Washington Wizards against the Hornets with a +6.5. I had the Magic at 6.5, +6.5 against the Nuggets. Had the Pacers at 3.5 against Toronto Raptors. Had the Nets 7.5 against Atlanta. Had the Rockets -5.5 against Memphis. So they're giving up 5.5, obviously, pro, to start the game. Minnesota, I had them against the 76ers. I had them just straight up winning. Had the Clippers a -4.5 start versus San Antonio, which is pretty obvious one. I had the Pelicans 6.5 points start to Sacramento Kings. Had the Trailblazers 7.5 over Utah. That was a tough one because Utah were favorites in that, but I gave the Blazers 7.5 points and they ended up smacking Utah. And then I had the Suns 5.5 over Golden State. So a nice little one. And obviously on this app, pro, punters can copy bets that celebrities or myself or whoever do and copy it straight to your account. And we had about 100 people copy that got paid for an 82 to 1 odds, which is great. So finally got one, pro, after 24 months. And then
big bet, small bet. Like, what do you do?
I just do
$10 here.
I do small bets on the multis. Yeah, I think I had $20 on that one, but that still turns into almost a couple of grand. So, but yeah, that's a nice one. And then I hit another nice one with, I think, the Pelicans. The Pelicans, and get this, pro. So the Pelicans and the Clippers. I had a parlay on that one, as a multi on that one as well. And that was paying just $12 on that one, pro. But get this, I hit everything. I had Dyson Daniels for over 15 points, rebounds, and assists combined. Zion Williamson over 23.5 points. Dyson Daniels with a steal. Herb Jones 1 block. Over 220, and Pelicans 6.5 point favorites. So Herb Jones and Dyson Daniels gets his steal and Herb Jones gets his block in the last 5 minutes of the game. So that covers.
That's crazy.
Then they're on. So the line, I picked over 220.5, so 221 wins. It was a tournament game, right? So they had 220 points exactly. They were up by 7 or 8, so the Clippers weren't going to foul. Larry Nance Jr. gets a rebound, dribbles it up, and because it's a tournament, the point spread matters, right? So he went in and dunked it in garbage time, and it got to 222, literally 4 seconds left.
That's crazy.
So anyway,
that's crazy. Some
happy punters on that one. There was 227 people copied that one. But anyway, get on the double app, enjoy that, gamble responsibly. All right, useful or useless, pro. Give me your pick for the top. There's 3 teams that are top 10 in offense and defense as of today. Who you got?
Okay, so I know Carlisle's doing ridiculous things. And
No, top 10 in offense and defense, both.
Oh, offense and defense. Holy shit. Okay, let me see.
There's 3.
There's 3 teams that are top in offense and defense. Probably going to have to go. You want 3 teams? I'll go with OKC.
1? You got that one? Yep.
Oh, wow. Okay. I don't want to go Milwaukee because I don't know what they do defensively, but I'll go Milwaukee on the 2. And I mean, Clippers?
Yeah. Did you not listen to our
their defense and offensive
No,
numbers once Harden got there.
Houston. I'm going to say the Houston Rockets.
Houston's a good one, but their offense kind of sucks at times.
Yeah.
Your hometown, man, the Boston Celtics are in there, and the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets are top 10, which is quite surprising because apparently a slow big man that can't move his feet or protect the rim, they're still top 10, which is quite amazing defensively. So both those, so you've got the Thunder, the Celtics, and the Nuggets, all three top 10 offense and defense. Useful, useless, bro.
It's useful. I mean, it's obviously if you're bringing it on both ends of the floor, although I don't really know how you get judged. I'm not questioning, and I've never really studied up how, besides like obviously your points per game or what you're giving up, how you actually come up with offensive rating, defensive rating, and rate these things. But I think it's really important if they are coming up big on both ends of the floor. Obviously, it sort of gives you a good idea about where you are as a team. And
that's the formula for most championship teams' formula is exactly that. You don't need to be one in either of them. You just need to be, if your offense is top 10 and your defense is top 10, you're in the mix for a championship. You can have the number one offense. If you're 25th in defense, you're not going to win a championship, and vice versa, right? So I think that's usually the sweet spot is if you're 5, 6, 7 in the league in both of those, you're going to have a good chance. All right, I think very useful. Good on those three teams. Most assists per game off the bench all time. Who do you think that would be, pro? This one would be a tough one to get because this guy started for most of his career.
Hold on, Bogues.
Most assists.
So you're saying assists for
most assists per game. No. Most assists per game off the bench all time. Minimum 10 games. So not his career, just when he's a backup. Yeah. You'll never get this one, so I'll just tell it to you. It's Magic Johnson. He's got the all-time most assists per game off the bench because I never would even guessed he came off the bench. I think it was when he was overweight Magic and came back that one year. I think he was coming off the bench, so threw a little outlier. But apparently he's come off the bench enough to warrant minimum 10 games. 7.4. There's that record has a chance to be broken this season by who, pro?
Chris Paul?
Correct. He's at 6.9. So he has a chance, minimum 10 games. He has a chance to break that record. Useful, useless, pro?
I'm saying useless. I would rather see guys that actually came off the bench, like keeping stats. I think now Chris Paul's different because he's actually a backup. I don't think Magic was ever really a backup besides that 1 year he came back from HIV. And I don't even think he was a backup that long. I think he was a backup.
It'd be interesting to see. It says minimum. The caveat is minimum 10 games. So I bet you it's like Magic came off the bench 11 times. That's why they put the 10 games in there.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
10.1 times.
I think it's useless just based on that minimum 10 games. If this was like 100 game sample size, different story. But I couldn't even remember Magic coming off it. And then I was like, oh yeah, the year he came back overweight and recovering from his off-court escapades. All right, last one. I'm going to do pick a player for you again, pro. I'm going to give you some stats.
Sure.
And I want you to pick which player you like better, and then I'll let you know which is which. Player one,
sure.
25.8 points a game, 5.9 rebounds, 5.1 assists. Shooting splits are 46, 37, 84. Player two, 25.3 points a game, 5.6 rebounds per game, 8.3 assists per game. Shooting splits are 44, 39, and 87. Player one or player two?
Player two.
Player two is LaMelo Ball. Player one is Anthony Edwards, pro.
Give me a do-over on that. Can we? Hey, Trey, can we just fucking rewind this so we could just pick this shit again? Because this is no bueno on this one.
Number one LaMelo Ball fan. But same numbers, really, even on the shooting splits, but LaMelo's averaging 3 more assists, albeit they suck and they play a style that helps his stat line. But pretty interesting that both those guys are averaging roughly the same numbers. But I think I take Edwards if I know which one's which based on the wins they're getting.
It's not even close as far as the play. Ball is a really talented kid and he could score. And look, when you're a bad team like Charlotte, you don't really have a lot. You're not really playing for a lot right now. He's a guy that could put up points to keep people going. He's entertaining, no doubt about it. Anthony Edwards is an absolute killer who, depending on the health of the international guys that are up top of the food chain on MVP, balloting and stuff, I mean, that guy has a chance to be an MVP, if not multiple. I mean, he guards people. He could really score. He could shoot. He could take you off the dribble. He's got athleticism. He's really good. And but yeah, I wouldn't have known if I knew I was going to take Ball. I would have taken a knee on that one. And that was
well,
it.
yeah. I mean, look, if I'm a casual NBA fan, I probably price of admission want to see LaMelo play. If I'm just a casual,
yep.
I think he's a better showman as far as, razzle dazzle. Like, he's an electrifying player, but you're not going to win with that over Edwards. Edwards is going to win more than LaMelo is. Controversial, yes, but LaMelo, price of admission, definitely would go seeing him if I was a casual.
What's the tattoo that he had? I
don't know. It's a sponsor logo, isn't it?
So basically,
maybe Triple B, maybe a shoe line. I don't know.
Yeah. So the tattoo on his neck was his own clothing brand, the LF, and basically the league has determined that, similar to the J.R. Smith situation a couple of years back with the Supreme tattoo on his calf. Yeah, basically can't wear it in the game because he's promoting his own brand, which doesn't align with the NBA.
Why don't we allow him on the show more, Bogues? I mean, he's obviously smarter than both of us. Why not have
He's
a
shy,
third
man.
guy
He's
on
shy.
there?
Because last 2 weeks he broke his nuts and said he's going to take a job. So he's
Bogues, what guy? Well, we've only had two producers, but what producer hasn't I bust balls on? I mean, I don't understand.
But they weren't on the mic,
not listened to the show?
He wants to chime in every now and then, but he's like, oh, this fucking asshole's going to break my balls.
Chime the fuck in. I mean, shit. It ain't like I'm getting paid for this bullshit. It ain't fucking, he ain't going to take my paid gig. Shit. We're only on every 3 months. It's not a big deal.
That's it.
So don't worry about it.
Got to make sure you have fresh content.
Yeah, I think he spices things up.
Yeah,
I think he needs to speak up more often.
Well, let us know. Do we want Trent more? I do. I'm trying to prod him to arc up a little bit more, but it's a work in progress, bro. We're working in. We're molding him into a podcast genius. But yes, LaMelo Ball, Edwards. Let's move on from that. NBL, it's the FIBA break right now, pro. I hate these FIBA breaks. They just kill the momentum of the season. But anyway, story for another day. Round 7 was an interesting one. The Kings squandered a huge lead versus Melbourne United. They were up 15 at half with the run and gun style, and it all dried up in the second half. Melbourne United grinded back. They are the clear front runners of the league as of now, almost at the mid-season point, and playing really, really good basketball. So really, really good balanced roster. They've dealt with injuries well. They should be commended with the way they've played. They're currently 10-2 and top of the table. Sydney in second, 7-4. Tasmania. Perth surged. They're playing really good basketball right now. They've surged back to 4th place. They're 7-5, tied with Tasmania. Southeast Melbourne have kind of plummeted a little bit. They haven't really played their best basketball over the last 2 or 3 weeks. They're in 5th place at 6-6. Brisbane, although they've had some tough losses, they've still played pretty well. They've still managed to scrape into the 6th. They're 5-7. Cairns 4-6. They're just out of the top 6. Adelaide 8th, 4-7. New Zealand 3-7, and then Illawarra, who have just fired their head coach a couple of weeks ago. And they have hired Jason Tatum's dad, pro, who was an assistant with them. So, yeah, he's already
that Jason Tatum, like the Jason Tatum.
Correct. Yeah, yeah, the Boston Celtics.
I coached his dad at a camp, Nike All-American camp in 1996. He went to St. Louis University. That's where they're from. But wow, I didn't even know he was coaching. I thought he was just sort of
Justin Tatum. Yep, Justin Tatum. He was over there as the assistant, and yeah, I mean, interesting. I mean, there definitely was a noticeable difference in the way they played. They actually got a big win at New Zealand in his first game, which is, New Zealand's not having a great year, but like I've said, they're 3-7, but they're not a 3-17. They're going to still grind and play hard. And for them to go over there and get a nice win after Dad takes over is really good. So we'll watch that space. But yeah, I wasn't sure neither. And he seems pretty young too. I think he must have had Jason at a pretty young age. So
yeah. So he was what? That was 1996. He was like 17. 21, so you're talking about like 44 years old,
younger side. So yeah. Interesting. One other tidbit, which you won't know much about, but asking the fans, what's going to happen with the Perth Wildcats? Are they going to be sold? There's a lot going on in the world of the owner
of the Perth Wildcats, Craig Hutchison, a media mogul here in Australia. Business not doing as well as he would have liked or would like. It's a publicly listed company. They own, of course, a lot of the SEN brand is under their company. They own the Perth Wildcats. They own a few WNBL team, a few teams in New Zealand. But their loan is about to go up a hefty amount percentage-wise, just with the way interest rates are going. I think they had a lock-in for a business loan that they've used. That's going to go up. There's some rumblings about, is their company sustainable long-term? What's going to happen? So just reading between the lines, he's on record saying that there's no way he sells the Perth Wildcats. They're a great asset. They bring in a lot of pros to their company. But, the shareholders obviously would have a bit of concern with the way the business is going. So watch that space and see if something spices up in the next year or two, much to the applaud probably of Perth Wildcats fans. They do not, they're not too happy with Craig Hutchison being a Melbourne media mogul and earning a team in Perth, which is always interesting seeing the Red Army rolled up. But just watch that space, people. I'm not sure if there'll be more to it than this. Hopefully it doesn't happen, because I think you want big personalities owning NBL clubs, but there is a little bit of smoke where there's fire, Pro. So we'll see. We'll watch that space.
Oof, that's weird.
Pro, what do you have for us this week? Fact or fake news?
Folks, I'm going to go with the fact or fake news. I'm going to go with just sort of player evaluation and your thoughts. I'm going to give you two players, compare them. I'll give you my take, and you give me your take. Fact or fake news basically on that. All right. I'm going to compare Chet Holmgren and Victor Wembanyama. Obviously, Victor's the face of the league going forward. Get it without question. But Chet Holmgren right now, 18-8, shooting 43% from the three. Right now, I think he's having a more impactful season than Victor is. And, and obviously he plays on a much better team, and all of that. But I'm saying Chet Holmgren right now, right this second, better than Victor Wembanyama, could help you win NBA games right now above Victor. Not 3 years from now, but right now. And that's what I'm saying. Fact or fake news? What do you think?
Fact. I mean, it's proof is in the pudding. They're winning games. A lot of Victor's stats are, I don't want to say empty stats, but they are learn as you go, young fella. We're going to play you no matter what. We're going to, teach you wins or losses, playing through this, playing through sore bodies, playing through nights where you're 0 for 10. We're going to still go to you and make you go 0 for 11, or find out if you're going to go 1 for 11 and make that shot, So he gets to play through the growing pains. I feel like Chet doesn't have that long of a leash, so he has to play well. Like, I don't think they're at a point now, OKC, where Chet's having a stinker, they can pull him out and put in someone else. The Spurs have the luxury of, he's going to get his numbers, right? Chet's doing this without that luxury on a winning team. So I totally agree with you. I think I had Victor picked for the Rookie of the Year just because around all the hype, and totally bombed on the fact that Chet is still a rookie because he was hurt and all that kind of stuff. I didn't think he'd be this good this soon. Thought his body would still need a little bit of work. But the 3-point percentage for him is the big one. He's shooting 43.8, and not, that game-tying shot that he hit a couple of nights ago, who was that against? Do you remember who they?
I watched that game too.
Philly?
Was it Golden? Was it Golden State?
It was Golden State, actually. You're right. Yeah, it was Golden State. Yeah, just hitting that quick trigger fadeaway three from the corner. Like, these are he's getting closed out hard now, and he creates some mismatches as well. So they play Philly the other night, and he shoots it really well from three because Embiid doesn't want to come out there. Yeah, Embiid can go punish him at the other end. So he's creating a lot of issues there, and he's an elite shot blocker already. I mean, he's averaging 2.3 a night. So I'm with you. I think he's definitely the better player as of today. He's on a winning team, much less hype about him, and yeah, I'm on the Chet train right now because I think they're winning games.
Bogues, they're both really good, and they're both freaks because if you watch them and you don't notice how tall he is. And Victor does a little bit of this too. Chet handles the ball like he's 6'2". Like, if you watch him accelerate, you watch him in pick and roll, you watch him handle it in transition, like the way he just handles the ball is ridiculous. They're both really good shot blockers, but Chet
Chet protects the rim. He rolls, he pops, he could take you off the dribble. Obviously, hopefully the body holds up, as of now, besides that catastrophic injury last year he did in the summer. He's just really good. And just that whole game, he had like 40, that game that he hit the shot against Oklahoma City. And Golden State. And he's a good player to watch, man. I knew he was going to be good, but like you said, I didn't think he was going to be this good. And no, just an interesting
study.
And
his shooting splits, that's what's killing Wemby right now, the shooting splits. I mean, Wemby's 43% from the field, 26 from three, and 82 from the free throw line. Where you look at Chet's numbers, which are just astonishing for a young fellow, 56.4 from the field, 43.8 from three, and 88. So he's got a chance to be a 180 player with those numbers, which is just crazy. So yeah, I mean, it's been nice, and you just hope he stays healthy. That's the big mark on his name. Can they both stay healthy? Because they both got bodies that seem, not the strongest, and you play your Embiids of the world and your Valanciunases and these guys that want to go through you. Can you stay healthy?
Yeah. And it's just, with Chet, it's just, like you said, that the injury thing, you just sort of hope he stays healthy with that. But, it's just an interesting deal. The shooting percentages are big, as far as what he's shooting from three. And again, he handles it a lot. He shoots it off the dribble a lot. And it's just it's sort of an interesting study. But yeah. And they both play both ends of the floor. They both, but Chet's doing it on a team that's winning. He's doing it on a top five, and he, like you said, the games means a lot more to him right now because they're actually meaningful games that they're not trying to tank. They're not trying to get a draft pick. They're trying to, they're trying to do their thing. So it's pretty interesting to watch. And on the Victor side, the way they covered Victor last year, as far as the media hype around him, every shot the fucker they showed, every shot went in. Fadeaways, 3-point shots. You'd think he was like Dirk Nowitzki. But in actuality, he probably made like 23% of his threes or so. I don't know the number
in France
exactly, but yeah. And he's shooting 25 from three here. But look, he's that's going to get better.
He'll get
I was
better.
talking to an agent the other day he was asking me about his client that's not really shooting the three well right now. And I'm like, dude, almost every player in the NBA, if you put work in, you get minutes, you get work, you put work in, you change your technique up a little bit. And if you actually care, your shooting percentages will go up. We see it in countless guys that don't shoot well when they come in the league. They put the work in, they get the time, they have courage to take threes. I know we talk about Ben and Simmons and all that he does it because he doesn't have courage to shoot. But if you have courage, you put the work in, you change your technique, you're going to get better. I'd say 9 out of 10 times. At some point, you're not going to become Steph Curry, but you're going to have some improvements. So, but it is funny that if you just watch social media, you would have thought that Victor was literally shooting like Dirk. And because all they wanted to show is his makes and his highlights. But, interesting. I got one more, Bogues, unless you want to wait till next time.
One more.
Two of the younger, better point guards in the league, Bogues. Tyrese Maxey. Oh, another Tyrese. Tyrese Halliburton. I didn't even notice. Tyrese. I think right now, even though he's not putting up the assist that Tyrese Halliburton is, I think Tyrese Maxey is one of the younger stars of the league. I listened to Frank Isola and Brian Scalabrine a lot, and I like Tyrese Maxey. He was in the same gym that I was at this summer, working out with Tim Martin, a trainer in the Dallas area. The guy, he's ridiculous. Comes in at 7 a.m., puts his work in, whatever. But I always thought he was a good player. And then I was hearing those guys talk, and Frank Isola was saying he's going to win multiple MVPs and this and that. I don't think that. But the tier this guy's been on, I know Harden's gone and he's got a lot more opportunity. But, the guy, I think Maxey, I would probably take Maxey over Halliburton. But it's close. Halliburton's shooting 45 from the three, averaging 12.1 assists a game, leading the league. It's pretty close. And but I would take Maxey over Halliburton. Fact or fake news?
This is a hard one because Tyrese Halliburton's numbers are heavily inflated because of the system. He's in a system that they scored 150 something in regulation the other night. They're Carlisle's got them playing at a crazy tempo, crazy pace. They're just
So his numbers are overly inflated. But I take Halliburton. So I'm going to say fake news just because outside of his numbers being inflated, he's got a 12-2 assist to turnover ratio. Right.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Look at you.
Yeah. But that's crazy. You know, you go, okay, what's he averaging from 27.7 points? That's his last 10, sorry, actually. So I made a mistake there. Probably don't get too excited. But yeah, it's 12.1 to 2.5.
I didn't know if you have Vulgaris on retainer back
it's just on ESPN stats, man. It's the first thing you Google. I don't go that deep in the databases. But yeah, so 25 points and 12 assists, but it's the assist to turnover that gets me. He's got the ball in his hands so much. He doesn't turn the ball over. He's had a couple of games this year, I think, where he's been in the high teens assist-wise with 0 turnovers. Maxi's also, don't get me wrong, this is not knocking Maxi. He's been phenomenal. His numbers aren't as high because he's in a system that has a slow big fella that they play a bit of a slower pace than Indiana Pacers. But I can't underrate that assist to turnover ratio for me. And he's shooting the piss out of the ball, man. Like he's 50% from the field. He is 91.9 from the line and 45.4. And that was a shot that people thought was broken coming into the draft, bro. It's ugly. It doesn't look good. The shit goes in. His ball goes in. So,
it's funny. It's funny you say that. I was on Instagram and somebody had Tyrese talking about his shot. And like you said, it's ugly as hell. It's low. It's literally like a 10-year-old. He shoots it that low, on the release, like the sort of where he picks it up and gets into a shot. And he was talking about how his coach in Milwaukee, he's a high school kid out of Milwaukee, that's where he's from, had him do 1,000 mic and drills a day. And to get his shot a little higher, like to release point, he made him make sure he didn't dip the ball on the mic and stuff. Yep. And I was sitting next to a coach, one of my best friends, his name's Dave Anwar, he's an assistant coach at Mississippi State. And he was telling me he's very friendly with this coach. And just out of the blue, we were talking this weekend at the tournament. And he was saying, he was telling me how he uses the mic and draw. I'm like, holy shit, I just heard about that. How he sort of worked on his shot by just doing mic and drill stuff. And I thought that was really interesting. But
so it obviously didn't work because he still shoots it from his chin.
Yeah, he's still shooting over 40 from 3, so somebody's fucking working.
I know. Although I do, he's still shooting it from low, right?
He does. I think he needs to be working out with Barry Bonds and taking some HGH or something.
Hey man, it goes in.
That up.
It goes in. Like it's like the old Al Jefferson, right? Like I was talking to, and even Brook Lopez when he used to post up, it was like they'd throw a lot of shit up there that looked funky, but their ball just goes in. And Calvin Sampson, who was an assistant with me in Milwaukee, he's now coaching at the University of Houston, I believe, still.
Houston, yeah.
He'd always just say, hey, that fucker's ball just goes in. It doesn't look good sometimes, but that ball just goes in, and you're like, it does. Because they do things that, those two bigs, like they take shots that you don't teach. Fall away hook shot, floater type shots. Al Jefferson would pump fake you 14 times before he shot a fadeaway. The ball would just hit the front of the rim, back of the rim, roll around, and the ball just went in. It's the same with Halliburton. His thing just goes in.
Kevin McHale told me about Al Jefferson, that Jefferson literally just throws the ball in. He doesn't really shoot it because he wasn't a shooter, but he would never use his left hand. Should have donated it to science. But literally he could, the range on his hook was ridiculous. He could literally take you from 12 feet and just throw the ball. Literally just throw it. It was that good. He was just naturally good like that. And
yeah, I agree. And just before
couldn't shoot.
Anyone gets on me, sorry to cut you off, Tyrese Maxey's assist to turnover ratio is also very good. So he's 6.8 to 1.5. But I just think Halliburton for me just gets the nod. It's a tough one. But I guess if you flip the script and put Maxey in the Indiana Pacers system, you'd probably argue you'd have similar numbers, right?
Yeah, and there's a stat that an old-time ex-general manager named Mark Warkentine, may rest in peace, gave me this stat that he evaluated point guards with. He called it pure point average. And usually the average number on that, it's like assists, turnovers, all that stuff. It just sort of, they put everything in an equation. But Halliburton's leading the league at 8.0, and the average on that's a good guard is average, it's a 4.3, 4.4. Maxey's at 4.5, and Halliburton's leading the league at 8.0. I mean, the guy statistically is ridiculous. And look, he's done it in Sacramento. He did it here. I mean, he's taken it to another level. His trainer, Drew Hanlon, is a good friend of mine. Tells me the kid he actually has both Maxey and Halliburton. He said he just gets in the gym and just works it. So it's good to see, two good guys that are very well liked, that are putting points up, helping both teams, win games. Indiana was really good for a while. It's still out pretty good, but they'll probably fall back to earth at some point. But their offense is out of control. They're ridiculously good. So, yeah, it's just interesting to watch those two guys and compare them both.
Good one, Pro. You did some homework for once. Well done on your lonely evenings there in Dallas.
Well, what do you think, Bogues? You think? Well, no, let me get Trent's deal with this. What does he think that? You think we should do like gossip stuff on the fact or fake news? Should we stick with the player evaluation? What are you thinking?
I like these comparisons. These comparisons do well.
Hey?
I think that Chet and Victor's a good one because they're such similar players, both first year players. So it's easy to compare the two, and Tyrese and the two Tyreses as well is good. But yeah, I agree with Bogues' pick with Halliburton. I think he had something like, he's the first player over 3 game span to have 40 plus assists with 0 turnovers.
There you go, Pro. Sold. You're fired.
Well, first of all, pay the fuck attention to the question. The question was, do you like this format? You don't have to blow Bogues on his picks. I get it. He's employing you. He's paying you. Your Venmo is blowing up every week when he pays you. But I'm saying, do you like this format of evaluating players versus our regular fact or fake news? It's usually like, is this team going to be better than this? They're going to finish higher? Would you rather mostly or all player evaluation? This guy is better than this guy, and why? Or do you want just a quick, fact or fake news, whatever? Monty Williams is going to, he's going to cash his check quicker than Popovich this week. I mean, what do you think? What do you think the direction? You're the CEO of fact or fake news right now. Which direction do you think we should take it?
I'll answer it a second time for you, and it will be the same answer
Yes.
for us. I love the player evaluations, and I like getting into those. The other ones tend to backfire. They do not age well. Like in a week's time when I go to post the faked or fake news, it usually isn't relevant anymore, and it's usually a bad pick by then as well.
Yeah. There you go, Pro.
Just like my tenure on the show, it's not going to age well, and it's going to get fucking washed out soon. So I agree. Toast to you.
Take that bitch slap from Trent, by the way.
I just got bitch slapped completely. The 9 people that are still following us and listen to this fucking show are going to be in shock and awe.
That's all right.
Oh, by the way, Bogues, before we go,
here we go. What do you got?
My wife sent me this today. She's got
Was
like
it from the
Google
groupie?
photos.
Was it from the groupie comments we made last week?
I don't know if you could see this. So
Yeah.
my daughter on Bogues night, and I still have it unopened on my shelf, when they had Bogues night in Dallas, when they had the
Bobblehead.
when they had the bobblehead, she was decapitating me. I don't know if you can see this.
Hold it there.
She's literally decapitating you, Bogues.
Just like my career.
On just like your career. I can't do it, right?
Oh yes, there we go.
Yeah. So there's at least one person that.
Well, you remember what that's what Casey and the training staff did to my bobblehead. You remember that shit?
Yeah. I did.
So
did they explode the leg or something?
No, the training staff had all these bandages put all these bandages on my bobblehead.
That was pretty good.
I got there and I think JaVale hyperextended my knee in one of the games. And then I had something else with my back and they just had all this bandages on my fucking bobblehead. I'm like, you assholes. These guys are supposed to be treating me and getting me better than making fun of me.
Well, it was actually a voodoo doll to try to make you, to make you more valuable in the trade. It didn't happen.
No, it didn't happen. All right, Pro. We'll see you in 3 months' time.
Trent, I'll see you later, man. Happy New Year.
Later.